What was Andy Kaufman like, and could you share a funny story about him?
You know, Andy.
Did you ever go into the ring with Andy?
No, but I did referee for Andy.
For the famous wrestling match?
Yes. Well, it was outside the dressing rooms. We had these cubicles, these little dressing rooms across the hall from each other, like this little area of little cubicle dressing rooms. And in the middle was this room, and he would bring girls in there sometimes and wrestle them. And always, you know, he was really a character. I mean, he would love that you're asking this question. That's all he wanted you to do was wonder. You know, he just wanted you to wonder. And but he was really a great guy. He was ahead of his time comedy-wise. You know, it took a while to warm up to him. One time I was mad that we were such a team and he was not a team player. Like he didn't rehearse, you know. We had a guy that played him all week. He came Tuesday for the run through. He came Tuesday for the run through, and then Friday for the show. But he didn't rehearse it. He never made a mistake. Never made a mistake. But we had a guy who played him. He played Andy. It was the weirdest. It was bizarre. And then, you know, Andy had that other personality. What was it? Tony. What the hell was it? I can't even remember. Get older. Tony. No. It was Vince Ferrari was the character he played. Tony Clifton.
Right.
Tony Clifton liked to rehearse. Andy didn't like to rehearse. Tony Clifton wanted to be there early. Andy didn't want to be there. Tony Clifton had his own contract. I mean, it was so bizarre. You know that they hired him to do a show, to play Louis' brother. This is the crazy. Think about this. They hired Andy Kaufman to play Tony Clifton playing Louis' brother, Nick. It's like there's one too many guys here. There's something wrong. So, but he was terrible. He was so bad. And he drove us crazy because he wanted to rehearse. And I think the baseball playoffs were on. It was like this whole thing. Anyway, he drove us crazy. So what happened is Tuesday we realized it's not going to work. It's bad. And they were very, Taxi was, you know, you could get fired for blowing a joke. You know, don't let anything go. And the conversation came around that, they had to fire him. And so Ed came down and talked to Andy, or Tony. By the way, we weren't allowed to call him Andy. We had to call him Tony. But make believe it was on the level that he was another person. We were all sworn to do this. I mean, this is not crazy. This was in his contract. This is crazy. And they did it because they wanted him. They saw him in a club and they wanted him. So, and he was so great. So anyway, so I forgot where I was.
You want to tell us the funny story?
Yeah,
about
I'm trying to get there, Joe. Take it easy. You were a big help. So Ed says to him, Andy, Tony, we have to fire you. It's not going to work. So Tony says to him, okay, you can fire me, but you got to fire me in front of everybody right before tomorrow's run through. Ed agrees to this. No one asked me why. The next day, I happened to bring a Super 8 camera. That's my Spielberg. I thought I was going to be a director. So I had my camera. And there was a buzz. And they hired another actor. Richie Ferrangi came in and was playing the part. And we were going ahead because we had a show. You got to shoot the show Friday, no matter what. Run-through time, all of a sudden, the bleachers started to fill up. People, I didn't know what was going on, but the word had gotten out that they were going to fire Andy, and he was going to do it in front. Everybody wanted to see it. So the bleachers started to fill up. And then nobody showed. Andy didn't show up, and the run-through started, and we started doing the show. And then all of a sudden, through the back door, came Tony, excuse me. He's in orange brocade. Walks in. He's got two of the hugest, the biggest prostitutes you've ever seen in your life. He's got these two hookers off Sunset Boulevard. They're both over 6 feet tall. I mean, they're giants. They're giants. Not the easiest on the eyes, but giants. They're all three of them are carrying these little white boxes. They got like a stack of white boxes. And he comes in loud, oh, I'm here. I gotta hold on. He sits down and he walks around and he hands each of us a box. The director, Jimmy Burrows, everybody got a box. In the box were those little stuffed animal dogs with the wire to the thing. You push one button, it barks, push the other button, it jumps over. So everybody's got, so picture the scene now. There's a sound stage. There's these dogs jumping all over the place, okay? He sits down at the table. Remember Taxi, there was the table in the middle of the garage. He sits down at the table, puts the two girls on his lap. You can hardly see him. It's funny, you know. But he announces that he's rewritten the script, and from now on, these two girls are going to be in the show, and he's going to do the part right from this place here at the table. So Ed walks over to him and he says, Andy, and Ed's this like nebbishy sort of guy, you know, glasses, comb over. You know, he just walks over to him, but he's tough as nails. He says, Andy, excuse me, Tony, I can't call him, I mean, I'm not kidding you. We had to see how crazy it was. Tony, we have to fire you. We have to let you go. It's not working out. Instead of Andy just taking it, he goes crazy. Goes nuts. Tony Clifton goes nuts. You can't fire me. I have a contract. It's the biggest contract here. And he starts this whole thing, and he's screaming back and forth. And then and Judd was sitting over there. And Judd had just about had enough of this baloney. He was sitting on the edge of a checker cab, a mock-up. He was sitting there. And then Andy said one more time about he had the biggest contract. And Judd freaked out. Judd said, no, I got the biggest contract. And he came walking over, and just then, Ed and Andy got in a wrestling match. Ed and Tony get in a wrestling match, and they go down to the floor. Judd jumps in, and he's rolling around on the floor. Excuse me, Andy and Judd get in a wrestling match. Ed goes to reach in, like, stop it, and it's like he gets sucked in, like it's a cartoon. Security comes, they drag Tony off. It's unbelievable. Well, just before it all happened, I had the camera. So I told the guy, put the lights on, let me film this. So I filmed the whole thing. I filmed the whole thing. They drag him out. Don't come to Vegas. I'll have you hit. Here's a contract out on you, Weinberger. You know, all this. He's crazy. We're off the next day. The shows, you do 3, and then you're off a week, then you do 3. So we did the 3. That was the last one. Thank God, because they knew it was going to be nuts. And we come back, and Andy's back that week as Andy, the first week back. So I have the tape. I have the film. I tell everybody, I got this film. Come up to the dressing room. You know, we had these cubicles. So I got the film. I'm running, and this is the days of audio visual. I got a projector, and it's showing up on the wall. It was like 79, 80, or something like that. I'm showing it on the wall, and everybody's in my room. There's like this many people in a cubicle. We're like, everybody's on top, and we're laughing because there's wrestling, and people are going, and the dogs are barking. All of a sudden, I forgot to lock the door, and he walks in. Andy walks in. And everybody, we just didn't know what to do. It's like, the air came out of the room, you know. And he sat there and he watched. And we all sat there in silence and watched the film with him as they dragged him off. And then, you know how at the end of the film in those days, it would just... So we sat there and we waited. Finally, I reached over and shut it off, and he said, just as I shut it off, he went, what an asshole. And he